Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. And as you know, my name is Zenzi Sewa, and my guest today is Daphne Michaels. Daphne is a human potential expert and a best-selling author, and she lives in Seattle. And as you know, I'm in London. She's in Seattle in America. And Daphne's going to talk to you about her spiritual journey, what she went through from her early age, what she had to endure to get to where she is now. So without much ado, I pass you over to Daphne. Daphne, hello, and how are you?
Hello, Zinzi. I am great. It is a beautiful day here in Seattle.
Yeah.
And I was in London about a year ago. I absolutely love London, so it brings back a lot of great memories. And so thank you so much for having me on your show.
No, my pleasure.
I would love to talk about my spiritual journey because I think it can help people to understand some of the breakthrough moments and really for me what my spiritual journey has been about. When I was 19 years old, I had a spiritual emergence experience, and it was very powerful. It was very sudden on one level, even though leading up to it, I think I was under a lot of stress. I think that from a younger age, I lived in two worlds. And one world was that I had the amazing experience of living in nature with my family. And it was just an incredible way to grow up. So from the age of 6, there were horses and cows and pastures and green land, and it was absolutely paradise on one level outside. But inside the house, my parents were young parents, so they get a buy on that. But there was a lot of chaos, and there were 6 kids, 6 of us. So of course, there was a lot of chaos. And my parents did the best they could. But like I said, they were young parents. They were in their 20s when they had us. And so, in fact, my mother had 5 children in 5 years before she was 5 years old.
There were no televisions then.
Right? No, it was.
I always say that to people with big families. No television.
A big family, yes. So inside there was always some sort of tension, it felt like. Somebody was mad at somebody was fighting about something, somebody was unhappy about something. However, when I would go outside, it all changed. So I recognized, and I think it was imprinted in me at a very young age, that there really are two worlds. There's the world of nature, the way things should be, living in harmony. And then there's the world of humans, which is oftentimes filled with drama and trauma and all sorts of chaos. So fast forward, 18 years old, I'm trying to find my way into the adult world. And
I always put my finger up when I want to say something.
Yes, please.
You were brought into a very lively household. And can I ask, out of those 6 children, where did you come in? Were you the last, the youngest, the middle?
Well, that's interesting. I was the baby of the family for 5 years. So there were 5 of us born in 5 years. And I was the youngest of that group. And then 5 years later, my younger sister was born. So there's 6 of us. So I think I got displaced.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop.
Yes.
And then another one.
So I was the baby until I wasn't.
Oh dear.
So that might have caused a little something. Who knows? So, yeah, so I think that was really confusing for me to understand that there's so much love at times, and then there's so much chaos that's getting in the way of the love. So I think that was confusing. And then as I started to transition to adulthood, I became clear that the entire world was like that. Like there is just so many layers of drama and trauma and disconnect, and it was scary. It was a scary time. And so by 19, this is when I had my spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
I had this experience, and it was really incredible. First of all, I was driving, and it was late at night. I was taking a drive, and which I love to do at late at night, but I got lost in the fog, and the fog set in, and it was so hard to see in front of my face. I started panicking, and I started trying to drive one street. I couldn't make my way through. Drive another street. I couldn't make my way through. And then all of a sudden, I ended up on this road. I didn't really know where I was, but it literally was a mountaintop road in Washington. It was going over the pass.
Oh.
It was so surreal.
Did you feel scared? You're talking because I don't like heights.
I felt so happy to be out of the fog, right? Because all of a sudden I'm lifting up and I'm like, okay, now I'm getting somewhere. But things were kind of, there was a feeling to it for sure. Like this was not just an external journey, it was an internal journey.
Okay.
Yeah, but by the time I got to the top, I got out of my car and I looked up, and the stars were so bright and clear, and I got the most amazing download in that moment, and it changed my life.
Oh my gosh. Can I ask, what was the download?
The download. So the download, I could not put into words because it was so beyond words. But what I know now is that it was an experience of unity consciousness. It was complete oneness.
Okay.
With the universe. And that started me on my path.
And I was going to say to you, how can you explain that? But it is difficult to explain. It's something that you really have to experience.
Yeah.
When you talk about it and they say it's just a oneness with all there is. You became nothing, and yet you became everything.
You're right. You're right. That is a perfect way to put it. That's exactly right. And other people who have had these kinds of experiences that are like sudden shifts in experience, they describe it very similarly.
Yeah.
And so what I knew was that my life had changed completely at that time. And for the next 5 years, from 19 to 24, it was even harder to find my way in the world.
Oh my gosh.
Because now I have this whole different perspective. And in the world of the trauma and drama and all of that, it just did not connect. So then I realized, well, I must be on a path. I have a calling. I have to figure out what happened to me, and I have to help people understand that this is possible. And that is pretty much what happened. So then I started on my journey of becoming a psychotherapist, because the closest thing I could find to fit with my experience was to go into psychology.
Okay.
And so that's basically what I did to start.
Okay. And going into psychology, did that open up a lot for you? Did it really make you see things, or is it a case that you thought, well, okay, but it's not enough, I need more?
Exactly. You're absolutely right. I went into psychology. I thought it was fascinating. I was able to work with people, right? So I worked with people who were struggling with addictions, and I worked with people who were struggling with depression, and I worked with a multidisciplinary team to understand mental health issues. And having that grounding is absolutely critical to, I think, anybody who's trying to teach spiritual concepts.
Okay.
So it gave me a super solid grounding. And I practiced as a clinical psychotherapist for 2 decades. And yeah, along with also teaching spiritual techniques and so forth. But that framework, super important to understanding the ego structure and how the ego gets in our way, and understand how to communicate spiritual concepts in an everyday kind of way.
Because as you're working with people, and as you went through with your own life and going into psychology, understanding the psyche of the human mind and looking at why we behave or do the things we do, it is probably brought up a lot. And knowing, as I say to everybody, we are spiritual beings with a physical body having a human experience. We're spirit first and foremost, and on this earth plane having to face what we're facing. And you said something very, very significant, which I wrote down, and I thought I'd like you to really not so much explain, but to talk about that a bit more. And it's the ego, because the ego gets in our way so much. And sometimes it's good because it can strengthen us, but sometimes, and I think the majority of times, we do not understand it. And we need to really understand that so that we can perceive things in a different way that's more beneficial to us.
Absolutely. And the ego is a concept that is very confusing because it's used in 2 different ways. And this took me a while to figure out, because in the Western paradigm of mental health, the ego is seen as something positive. You're supposed to have a strong ego to make it through life. And in the Eastern perspective, with spirituality, the ego is something to let go of. Yeah. So it's very confusing. Like, well, then what is the ego? So I did a lot of work with that. And I actually wrote an entire chapter on it in my book, The Gifted. So basically, this is how it works. Think of a hose. And the hose is supposed to bring nourishment to you and the garden. And so we're all the same in terms of the channel of light from the universe. We're all exactly the same. The only way we're different is how we present ourselves. And how we present ourselves is like is the ego. How we present ourselves is the ego. So what happens is that we become so focused on presenting ourselves in a certain way that we're not paying attention to the light the hose that is watering the garden. So simply put, from a Western perspective, we need to have a strong ego to be able to move through daily life. But that's when we're in the trauma and drama part of life. We have to have a strong ego to survive it. However, there are different layers of experience. And so my model works with quantum mechanics. So we're talking about different dimensions.
Yeah.
And so the higher dimensions of spirituality, when we are in a protected place, when we don't need the ego to protect us, and we can relax and open ourselves up more to the light, now the ego goes away.
Yeah.
And in that process, we develop choice, and we can choose whether we are going to live in the world of chaos, or if we're going to create our own world on a higher level where we can let our spirit shine through.
Yes. And this is why I say to people, our actual journey here on earth is not about our careers, our homes, our husband, what we look like, what we want to achieve. Our actual journey on this earth is to grow spiritually.
I completely agree with you. And that's a beautiful way to put it. And that is such a beautiful reminder to everyone, because right now we have an opportunity as higher vibration people, as more spiritually developed people, to absolutely change the world.
Yeah.
Because we're coming together.
Yes. Now you touched on another point, which you had to. We are vibration. We are energy. Everything. And I was going to say, and we are, but everything is energy. The table is energy. Our bodies are energy. The picture behind you is energy. Your blouse is energy. The color you're wearing is energy. Everything is vibrating at different frequencies. And for a table to be so solid and dense, that's the way it's vibrating. Air and oxygen is and the sun, it's vibrating at a different frequency to make it so opaque and so thin. So everything is energy. And you're quite right when you're saying that when we are vibrating at a certain frequency, that is when we're raising our conscious level and we're being as we should be. Can you speak a bit more for our people listening on that vibration and probably quantum as well? Because I think the two go together.
Absolutely. When I started my institute 25 years ago, when I started teaching these concepts, the original name of my institute was the Vibrational Health Institute. And so everything that I taught was based on vibration. And the reason this is important is because once we understand vibration and frequency, we develop capacity and command to live our lives on a higher level, on a higher bandwidth. So the model that I help people with, because it is a combination of psychology, spirituality, and quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
The model that I help people understand is that we have several aspects of our being, which everyone knows, which are our spirit, our mind, our emotion, our physical body, and what's called the dreaming body, which is kind of the next step for us, is to be able to speak our life into existence and so forth. But all of these bodies, all of these aspects of self vibrate at a different frequency.
Yes.
And if they are co-opted by ego, they're going to vibrate at a very low frequency.
Mhm.
So our spirit is not going to be able to shine through. Our mind is going to be toxic, and we're going to feel like gossiping, and we're going to feel like, just having toxic thoughts and thinking the worst and catastrophic thinking. That's all because the mind, the vibrational frequency of the mind is now co-opted by the ego.
Mhm.
When our emotional system is co-opted by the ego, it's going to take us into despair and heartbreak and victimhood and feeling like we just can't have a good life.
That's
And
right.
of course, the physical body being at a low vibration, we're sluggish, we can't move, we don't feel vitality, and our dreams are impossible. So when we understand that we need to bring ourselves into alignment with
Yeah.
the vibration of our spirit,
Hmm.
we start with the vibration of our spirit. We get in tune with that part of us that we recognize as the highest, purest, most loving, most connected, our higher self.
Yes.
From here, we can begin to align the frequency of our mind to our spirit.
Yes.
It elevates our mind. Align the frequency of our emotions to our spirit. It elevates our emotions. Align the frequency of our physical body to our spirit. It shifts our body. And now our dreams are within reach. So that's pretty much how quantum mechanics is so important. And also, I would just say this, all of this is connected to the technology in our body, which is our chakra system.
That's right.
Whenever we're working with our chakras, we're shifting our frequency.
Because when you were saying there are 7 layers, automatically I thought the chakra systems. Because what you were saying is each a layer on the chakra system. And for those who are not too au fait about the chakra system, can you just explain that just briefly?
Absolutely. The chakra system is so amazing because, originally it comes from Eastern beliefs. The Vedic texts, I believe, talked about the chakras. And so the chakras system is, I think it's 5,000 years old, if not more.
Yeah, it's older.
But something very interesting happened somewhere along the line. And I think in our country, it was around the 1960s when our quantum physicist started saying, I think we're talking about the same thing. When,
the bell rang, ding, they suddenly realized.
Right. And the spiritual gurus in India were talking about these concepts long before science caught up with it.
Right.
And now science is merging with this. And it's an incredible, and that frequency, by the way, where science and spirituality merge is a very high frequency.
Yes.
But so basically what it is that the chakra system we have many chakras throughout our body, but the main ones we work with, there's actually 8 that I work with in my system, which includes the one above our head.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
But they are the centers of light that are basically, as you go up our torso, a chakra would be how you experience your heart. If you're having a beautiful day, we would say your chakra is open. If you're having a really hard day and you feel heaviness in your heart, we would say your heart chakra is closed or blocked. Mm-hmm. So these centers, we have them in our solar plexus, below our navel, all the way up through our throat, through our head, top of our head, and above our head. And then we have a central channel going up our spine that connects all of them. But here's the part that gets very interesting about the chakras. So we also have glands. And so you think of your, the sex organs are the estrogen and testosterone and those kinds of hormones that are secreted. And then when you get to your solar plexus, we're looking at the adrenal glands, and the heart chakra corresponds with the thymus gland. The fifth chakra, the throat, is your thyroid. Sixth is your pituitary. And then we get into the pineal gland and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So there's a belief system that says the chakras are actually the glands, because when our glandular system is working really well, we feel our best. We have the most vitality moving through our system. This is why yoga works with the physical body to activate the glands. They're actually activating the glands, but deeper than the glands, in pure energy, is the chakra. And so then the chakra is not only serving our physical body, but because it's so deeply encoded into our light body, into our consciousness, into our frequency, it begins to affect every single aspect of who we are. So developing these centers takes us to higher frequencies.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for explaining that, because we're living in a time now where people are becoming aware of themselves. They are wanting to know, because things need to change. And we're all going through different things, and the spiritualities and the chakras and all these things are now coming up, and people are becoming more and more aware and open to hearing this and to understand how these affect them in their daily life, their mood swings and everything, because it is part of what we go through, because we are spiritual beings. These energy points are like antennas that's taking in the energy around you from your childhood, whatever, and then it goes through into the mind, and it surfaces into how we now operate. And understanding these things and trying to see how we can, because they need to be changed. They're there like anything else. They need to be changed, and how do we change them? Now, Daphne, because you've got the Institute and you've written books, and so how do you advise people when they're coming to you with problems? I know every problem's different. There can't be one generic thing. But what is the thing that you could say to people to help them to start to look at themselves and be more aware of what's going on with them, and what they can do to help change those things?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking me. So what I would say, kind of leading up to that, is that because I practiced as a clinical psychotherapist, and I practiced as an energy healer and trainer now for many years, I can tell you that in most cases, energetic processes are much faster than working in a traditional model. Now, that's not to say that some people need, so some people do need to work in a traditional model because they actually have mental health issues that need medication or whatever, and that's really important to know, but it doesn't keep you from also working an energetic model.
That's correct.
And the thing about working an energetic model is that there, with our being, and we call it the light body, because this is what we're focusing on when
Yes.
we are focusing on the chakra system. So when we are working as a light body dominant person, or living as a light body dominant person, we are transmuting the lower frequencies. In other words, all that stuff from childhood that we want to heal, all that stuff from the world that contaminates us and brings us down, all the worries about our future, when we organize ourselves as a light body, working with our chakras and developing our consciousness, all of that becomes the material that grows and develops our higher pathways. It's not about getting rid of it. It's about transmuting it. It's about digesting it. It's about integrating it. So we don't have to run away from anything. We can bring it all in and take it all up to a higher perspective. So the way that, so what I do, because I can also perceive energetically, so I can perceive the chakras for people. And the first thing that we need to do is a chakra assessment. And so I think there's many ways to do this. There's many pathways to work with people to figure out, so how are my chakras doing, by the way? And until we can feel or sense or know our own energy, then we work with people who can do this for us and help us understand it. But I do think that it starts with a real assessment between how you are living now and what is your capacity. What are you actually capable of? What is your potential? And beginning to step onto that path to unfold your potential through raising your vibration.
Daphne, that is so true. And also what I would like to say to people listening is that it doesn't matter what you're going through, how you are now. Nothing is a punishment. You know, some people say, oh, it's retribution, or I've done this or that. We need to look at things in a positive way. When we are these beings and somehow we became disconnected and we've been making decisions from a lower vibration, which has caused us to turn right instead of left or going straight ahead. But once we start to understand that, it's not about, oh, I did this wrong. Okay. It's understanding that, okay, what have I learned from this? Because we are spiritual beings living this life, and everything is about a learning curve. If we don't go through this, how do we understand? How do we know what is right from wrong, so to speak, which is really positive and negative? What works for us and what doesn't work for us? What works for society or doesn't work for society? And it's a learning curve, and therefore looking at it and saying, how can we do things differently?
One of the things that happens as we develop our consciousness is we develop our witness. And so what you're talking about in terms of people getting trapped in the idea that they're being punished because they did things that they feel ashamed of, that is because the ego has grabbed hold of the energy. And the ego is incredibly strong, so strong that you can see it playing out in horrible ways in our world. That's how strong the ego can be in terms of its destructiveness. So as we evolve, as our vibration gets higher, we develop our witness and we're able to see, oh, I'm caught up in this force of destruction. And this force of destruction is shame. And that, and I can transmute shame. I can give myself the permission to say, I'm hitting the reset button today. And it doesn't matter what I've done, because every single person on this planet has skeletons in their closet. They've done things that they wish they hadn't done.
Yeah.
It's all part of the learning process. And nobody is going to judge you when you have transcended to a higher vibration. They're only going to applaud you.
Yeah. And because, you know, we hear this and it's said time and time again, and I know it can be difficult. That's why when we see things and it's our perspective, we're not there to judge, because it is as it is. You have to look at yourself, and this is about your life. You see, what's going on in the world is the macrocosm, but it starts with the microcosm. Absolutely. And as you said, when it plays out in the world in negativity, it's not some kind of thing there. It's individuals with their ego that has run amok. They haven't got it in control, and these things are happening. And we somewhere else can look and think, tap, tap, ego's run amok.
Exactly. Yes, right. Exactly. And that's exactly what we do. We're somewhat non-attached.
Yes.
Right. We're somewhat non-attached, which is not about being detached. It's just that we're not going to attach to the craziness. We're not going to attach to the drama. We're not going to attach to you know what seems impossible. We're going to maintain our alignment with what is possible and how much we as individuals can affect the macrocosm as individuals at a higher vibration.
That's right. And the more of us understand this, and we realize it begins with me, it begins with you, with the individual. And the more we understand to change the macrocosm, it begins with us. It's about us on a daily basis, taking small steps and changing. And in doing that, we will send out ripple effects to others who will want to do the same thing. And as we begin to wake up collectively, the more it affects, the more that vibration is going to affect the negative energy that's within our sphere. Because the more we stand up and realize everything is energy. When we grow collectively, when we grow individually, and then it works out, we can actually change what's going on in the bigger cosmos around us.
Without a doubt. And that's the exciting thing, right? It's not going to be the people. I mean, even though I'm drawn to teach and I'm drawn to write and I'm drawn to share this information, it's not going to be people who are the leaders per se. It's going to be the masses that change the world.
Yes.
A few leaders can't do it. It has masses.
But when we look in our world today, you've got a few people making the decisions and creating mayhem. And sometimes I look at it and say, well, what's the rest of us doing?
Exactly.
And not necessarily down there, but even at those levels, you think, well, you say no, all of you say no. So what are you doing? You just no, and then nothing. You need to do something.
Yes.
Collectively, it can be done. And it's changing and realizing that we have the power. Don't be afraid. Unite under that one collective of love and harmony and sharing and peace, and knowing that we want this for everyone. And it shall be.
It is 100% correct, right? Because the ripple effect that I have seen just in teaching through my institute and through the SHIB movement for 25 years is that the people who have stepped onto the journey,
yes,
they are the people who are changing not only their lives, but the ripple effect is obvious.
Yeah.
And the more we shift our own vibration, and this is not an easy path, by the way. It's not just like, okay, I'm going to shift my vibration. I'll start today. I'm living this, because our own ego will come against us in a huge way. And it is a fight. It is a fight to live as a better person. And so it's a journey. It's a journey that we need to have community on, for one thing, because we can't do it alone. We need to constantly come back to the truth. We need to constantly be fed the higher vibration on, however that is, through podcasts or through color or through nature or whatever. We need to live it more and more. And as we do that, we're creating that ripple effect. And like you said, that ripple effect of a higher vibration is going to come through and change the world in some way. My sense is that it's going to transmute the drama and the trauma, and we're going to be more aware of how to make choices for ourselves and others that honor who we are on this higher level of love.
Yeah. Make the choices that honor not just ourselves, but for everyone, because you can't be happy on your own.
No,
it's
true.
So much nicer walking out there and connecting with so many others and having that love and having that joy and having that smile and having that happiness.
Absolutely.
It's a community.
Yes. If one person is suffering in the world, we cannot be truly happy. Right? And we can live in bliss knowing that we're on a path to serve this higher purpose. That's where the bliss comes from.
Yes. So much. You're talking so right, because you live it every day and I live it every day. And when you're doing these things to help, to speak out, to encourage, it feeds you. And we smile and we glow, because it is about that journey of what we need to do. Daphne, you are an inspiration. And before I would say thank you for being on my podcast, please can you share your information, how people can contact you? Do you work one-to-ones? Even your books, please mention them so people know and what to look for in connecting with you.
Thank you, Zinzi. It has been amazing to have this conversation with you. I always love conversations with like-minded and vibrationally dialed in people. So it's incredible. Thank you so much. So like I said, I've been teaching for about 25 years. And recently I started a movement. And the movement is called the SHIB movement, SHB. People can find it at my website, DaphneMichaels.com. And in this movement, I am teaching live, face to camera, online, at least 4 times a month. And it's very in-depth, vibrational, evolution of consciousness material, and people who are in the movement are experiencing major shifts and changes in their life. I'm super excited about that. I have a book out. It's called The Gifted. It's available on Amazon. And this book is kind of a classic. I wrote it years ago, but it talks about the ego, talks about our 9 gifts, that if we embrace them, we're on our way to a better life. And then I also have a free event, which is, it's called the SHIB Experience. And you can go to my website at DaphneMichaels.com and sign up for it. And we do a chakra alignment and look at energetic blocks. And I talk about the SHIB movement as an opportunity. So any of those ways would be great to get to know anybody who's interested.
Thank you very much for that, Daphne. And before I say goodbye, can you leave us with one piece of nugget that you feel that you can share with everybody to help them, to give them encouragement on their path? Some little nugget that they will feel that they can take away that will help them with their journey.
So this is something that I put in the, I have a book that goes with the movement. It's called the Book of Shib. But this is what I put at the beginning of it. I said, unity consciousness is love without a reason.
Lovely. So true. So true. We don't need to know this one, know that one, be friendly. Just when you see something, because we're all one. We're all one. We're not separate. So when you love everything, as in the beginning, you said, we are nothing, yet we are everything.
Yes, that's it.
So when you love, or just loving and respecting and seeing without any prior thing, that's, you're giving that energy out without excuses. Daphne, thank you so much for that. Thank you very much for this talk. I thoroughly enjoyed it today. Thank you for coming on the program. And for all those who've been listening, thank you for joining us today. And please, when you get the video released, Daphne's details will be there so that you can contact her, work with one-to-one or as a group. So for now, bye everybody. Thank you all very much. Daphne, thank you. Goodbye.